Don't be afraid of the dark in Russia policy. The West should know that it can no longer stop the development in Russia, but that it can defeat the Kremlin's war of terror against Ukraine. Good morning, my name is Prigozhin, fellow soldiers, I am in charge here now. On the morning of June 24th, these and similar sounds could be heard in the Russian-Ukrainian War Center in Rostov-on-Don. Prigozhin and his army soldiers marched to Russia's main war base without any attempt to stop it. Wagner's commander, who was pictured talking to the chief of defense and other officials, finally dispatched troops to Moscow after his extravagance realized that Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu would not fight him. By now, if not before, everyone in Russia and the world is fascinated by the Wagnerian mercenary revolt and asks, "What is this?" Nobody stopped the orchestra, nobody defended Mother Russia, nobody defended the resolution. Vladimir Putin? Instead, they all bowed their heads, turned off their phones, and went under their desks, as if they were ready to support the new law if it had a chance to win. Putin finally disrupted the Moscow March with a mysterious deal. However, it is not clear how to fix it permanently. But Vladimir Vladimirovich thanked all the authorities, churches, and citizens for their support and gifts. He then flew to Dagestan in the North Caucasus, where he came to a crowd of people smiling at him for a commentary on the dreaded 1917 speech about obesity in the summer that launched his campaign in 2024. Believe it, hope so, but now Putin's polish is empty. In the West, Putin is seen as a professional politician with a strong hold on power. In the eyes of many, Putin can see the limit in his war of aggression against Ukraine. But once he picks up, once he loosens his grip behind the bank, things will go wrong. So, for God's sake, don't raise it. Putin is afraid of us. Because if Putin is an island, he will launch a nuclear bomb or simply damage the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Even if he doesn't, we live in fear that a terrorist will seize power and control Russia's vast arsenal. The balance of our Russian policy has always been distorted by fear. But Wagner's brief attack showed us that Putin respects power and does it. For observers, this fact is already clear. It seems that professional experts are experts and well-trained, but they are blind when it comes to important matters. He recruited the legion of armed criminals directly from the criminal justice system, apparently without considering the possibility of high treason. In the fantasy of illiterate history, Ukrainians are Russians and it is a war of aggression that they cannot win, because Ukrainians are not Russians, because they defend themselves against their country and people and laugh at them. Westerners are following them. Putin has achieved historical unity in the West, strengthened the EU and NATO and increased their support, trying to widen this division. Wagner's director Prigozhin is now exposing Putin's so-called war to be a hoax and proving, via live TV, to the world that Putin's power was built from scratch. The mercenary leader humiliates Putin by forcing him to admit his weakness, but Putin treats him almost as an equal and sees him as a threat. A strong feeling follows. Now is finally the time to bring back Ukraine with the full and precious power of the United West, without the absurdity of self-made excuses like Putin's raising or destruction. Many Western leaders say it is not in our interest to topple Putin. First, we must acknowledge how little the West has contributed to the situation in Russia. The Wagner attack has shown us how little we understand and how vulnerable we are. One thing we can influence is Ukraine's successful campaign for national survival. Putin's defeat could also offer an opportunity for positive change and an end to doubts. Any Russian leader other than Putin would have an immediate opportunity to end the war and withdraw Russian troops. This seems unlikely, but the Russian state army is not opposed to the opposition. People who are afraid cannot think clearly. People who don't fear or are not Putin can now see one thing for certain: we don't need the right Putin, we need the right Russia.